Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin on the Minnesota border. Here to talk Packers tonight as a flurry of new transactions have taken place. There's all kinds of rumors cranking up. We'll dive into all of it, as well as a little bit of draft talk. We'll cover all the bases tonight. We're live on YouTube. We're live on X, live on Rumble. Also, if you are hearing my voice on one of those three platforms and you go, man, I'd really like to listen to this on the go search Packernet Podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, and you can get this in podcast form there, along with Ryan Schlip's Packernet Podcast, the flagship podcast of that network. Awesome show there. Make sure you check it out. So I see, first of all, give a shout out to Clint here, being a new member. Appreciate you joining as a YouTube member here, Clint. Thanks. Welcome to the posse, bub.
Awesome.
And of course, Ron Sample already seen the goal. He said 1. So we got a goal tonight. If we hit 10 super chats, and I've got it set to the cheapest one, we'll do a mock draft, 7-round mock draft at the end if we hit that goal. So
Ron and Bates in here right away. Look at bam. We're at 2 already.
So there's a good chance we're going to hit that goal. Let's go rapid fire and get through the news here real quick. Anything you guys want to lead off with? Anything at all in the forefront of your mind you'd like to lead off?
I mean, I am a little shocked at the Josh Myers news, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what jumped out off the page for me. Also, the A.J. Dillon news. Also, the MVS news. Lots of news.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump right into the Josh Myers news that Jacob's referring to here. As Jeremy Fowler from ESPN tweeted out, former Packers center Josh Myers has agreed to terms with the Jets on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal per source, 4-year starter in Green Bay, back with Justin Fields, his Ohio State team. I didn't even put those two together, to be honest with you. But like Tim said, man, we just missed that snap the effing ball Josh connection again.
Yeah.
With Aaron leaving town and Josh going to the Jets. So kind of cool to see him and Justin Fields back together. But I will say this, at $3.5 million, I would have been totally fine with the Packers bringing him back at that price. I think Drew said it earlier in the chat, which he's actually got the super chat here. That's number 3 of 10, boys. Appreciate it, Drew. He actually mentioned earlier here in the pre-show how it must mean that the Packers did not offer Josh Myers anything, which is kind of wild because they did talk him up last year, right? Which is another example of you can't really take everything they said verbatim. You know what I mean, Tim?
Or it's just gamesmanship, right? You know, we're seeing what we saw, and then we hear the staff saying he's playing the best ball of his career. It's like you're kind of setting that market for the future. And but I'm not going to drag Josh Myers. That guy was a great teammate, and you can talk about his abilities out there on the field. It's not for a lack of effort, and I think the guy carried the G as best as anybody, honestly, during his time here. And I wish him the best out there in Jersey, playing with the Jets. I think I also agree with your statement. $3.5 million. I mean, that ain't too much cheddar. I would have probably kept him at that price too. But obviously, the Packers had other plans, and that's okay. I think it's going to be one of those scenarios where we'll move onward and upward, and hopefully so will Josh. I think he'll do well out there in New York.
Yeah, I do too. Shout out to Josh Martin and Hardy the Prophet. We got 5 now, so we are closing in already. Jacob, you kind of brung it up, man. What's your take on Josh Myers and the amount of money he got and going to the Jets?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just an odd situation where, one, like Deadfish was saying, they had a center named Joe Tippmann that they drafted from Wisconsin not too long ago, who I thought was playing decently, but apparently they thought it would be good maybe to upgrade. I don't know if they're bringing him in there to be a backup, if that's the way they see it, but $3.5 million. I definitely would have been okay with him being on the team for that amount of money. Jay Cole says that you were right about Josh, probably not even offering him anything. It seems as if they saw what they needed to see. And one other little kind of, I don't know if you call it a fun fact or whatever, but somebody brought it up in the chat that it looked like that Myers getting a less contract than Stokes was a little surprising to me.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? But
yeah, I honestly,
there it is.
we had talked about it. Yeah, there you go, Prince with the comment. We had talked about it all year, and I just didn't see it. I didn't see like any kind of love that they had for Josh Myers. It was just like, man, the athleticism's there, right? We talk about the size at center, which is really, really rare. RAS King, all that stuff, right? But when it came down to it, at the end of the day, man, it was just like you can definitely do better at the center position. And there were some people within Packers media that were standing on that hill like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I watched the tape, and it's amazing how if someone says they watched the tape, automatically that means their understanding of what's going on is the correct one. Like, we watch tape too. It doesn't mean we're right in our assessment any more than anyone else. We just share our opinions. But people kind of stand on that hill and talk down to folks. That does crack me up because they're eating some crow today. They definitely are. But again, all the best to Josh Myers as he moves on to the Jets. I hope it works out. I think he's a stand-up dude. Obviously had a rough year last year, both on the field and off the field. So look forward to continuing to watch him play. Who knows? Maybe he can cut the corner, and this time next year we're talking about him getting a big extension or something. That could happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is set up for, right? That's a prove-it deal if I've ever seen one, right? 1 year, $3.5 million. So go out and get your money, Josh.
Absolutely. Other news dropping today, just more rumors. Diana Rossini, if she hadn't attached Mike Silver to this, I would have just kind of brushed it off. But the fact that Mike Silver has got his name attached to this as well, who you guys know has had a pretty good working relationship with Aaron for a long time. I think they go back to the Cal days where he covered Cal, and he's a big Cal fan, if I remember correctly. Nonetheless, Diana Rossini says Vikings decision makers are still evaluating their options at quarterback, including the possibility of signing Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time MVP, is intrigued by the idea of playing in Minnesota for now.
Stop it.
Game, sources tell Mike Silver and me. So it sounds like the Vikings are open to Aaron going there. It's will Aaron go there? And, of course, the way it's worded here, Aaron is intrigued by the idea. Everything else that I've heard, it sounds like he's got it narrowed down to the Giants and the Steelers, though. And if I had to put money on it, I would say the Steelers is where he's going to end up.
And, of course, we're hearing zero from Aaron Rodgers.
Right, exactly. It was funny listening to the McAfee show earlier today, and you guys know Tone Diggs is a big Steelers fan, and hearing his take on it was hilarious. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch that, but Tone Diggs said, I think we'll find out here in a couple of days. We got a full moon coming up. His moon rocks will be fully charged, and I think he'll make a decision. And then they asked Tone, and Tone said he didn't want it. He's like, yeah, I would rather them go a different route. And there's a lot of Steeler fans that have been vocal like that. Now you're going to hear the loud minority. Obviously, we've learned that in more than one way these last few months. But so we'll see where he ends up. It could be the Giants, could be the Steelers. I think it is a long shot for the Vikings. But again, Diana Rossini and Mike Silver mentioning that just getting Aaron, if Mike Silver chatted with Aaron and got him to say he would be intrigued by it, to me, it seems more gamesmanship to try to drive up that cost a little bit more on the other two teams. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm sure there's no shortage of Vikings fans that don't want Aaron in Minnesota either. So,
say while we're on the topic of the wonderful New York Football Jets, what do you guys think about what J. Cole was saying? I saw that they released C.J. Mosley today, and he says, "C.J. Mosley, anyone?" I originally thought, man, that guy's washed up. I pulled him up on the old PFF. Let me tell you something. His grade this last year, granted, I believe he may have gotten hurt because he did not have many snaps. He had just over 100. But that being said, he had a 74.7 defensive grade, a run defensive grade of 81.6. Here are his grades since the beginning of his career in 2014. 2014, 70.2, 15, 68, 66.8, 2016, 76.3, 2017, 72, following year, 73, 75. 42, really bad year in 2021. 2022 bounces back with a 69.8 last year, played over almost 1,200 snaps with an 82.9 with a 90.6 coverage grade, guys. And then, like I said, this last year, a little banged up, but still had a 74.7 grade.
He only had a little over 100 snaps, right? So he got hurt this past year. If he can come back healthy, and you're talking about a reasonable contract, sign me up. You're looking for another linebacker. Right now, your linebacker room is Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, Tyron Hopper, right? If you throw C.J. Mosley in there, who is a 6'2", he is your traditional kind of I don't want to say perfect, but cut from that perfect mold of what a mock backer should look like, should be like. You throw him in at the mock and have Edgerrin play free. And then if all of a sudden Quay Walker is your third linebacker, I really like that. Quay and Quay playing for his career, obviously the last year of his contract, I wouldn't mind that move one bit. Now, will Goody do it? Let's look at precedent. When was the last time they signed an aging middle linebacker, right? Can't think of it. So I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade. I would be okay with it for the right price. Surprise, right? But yeah, that's how I would see it. I don't know. What do you think, Tim? If you add that guy in as extra, at a minimum, extra depth, I mean, my goodness.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? A depth guy, again, kind of towards the end of his career, you could probably get a relatively good deal. I don't know what the market's like on him, obviously. I mean, a couple of bigger names have been released. I'm sure we'll get to the rest of the news feed and stuff. But I don't have a problem with CJ Mosley. I just wouldn't bank on anything, more than a year or two tops with him.
People in the chat were saying, oh, he's hurt constantly. Well, he only had 2 seasons where he was hurt. Other than that, there was it's only 2 seasons that he has had under 800 plus snaps. The bulk of them are over 900. The bulk of those are even over almost 1,000 to 1,200 plays snaps that he plays every year. So the guy's actually been pretty durable. Had 2 kind of off seasons in the 10-year career.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I would be on board with it. I would, for the right price. All right. Next topic here. Let's see. Jordan Schultz tweeted out. He was the first one that I seen had it. Said breaking former Packers running back A.J. Dillon is signing with the Eagles per sources. Dillon, just 26 years old, has 2,428 yards rushing and 18 total touchdowns. So I think he will fit right in at Philly, me personally, him and Saquon. Now let's see if he's still got it. I know this. I will not be pulling for the Eagles if they're ever playing the Packers. If they're playing an opponent, and let's say the Eagles are ahead of the Packers in the NFC standings, I want the Eagles to lose. But every time A.J. Dillon touches the ball and there's nothing that's going to hurt the Packers on that result, I'm rooting for this dude. I really am. I think it's going to be fun to see him. And we're going to find out. Did we misuse him? Was he just not a fit for our scheme? What happened, right? He goes to Philly, and all of a sudden he's averaging 4.5, 5 yards a carry. We know, all right, that was a better fit. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think you're right, though. He's going to fit in just fine out there. And good spot for him to, get the legs under him and get moving again. It's been a while since he played some ball. So, and I'm sure he's going to keep the Door County house, and he's going to still be Mr. Wisconsin, guys. Don't freak out. This is just the business side of things. I think A.J. Dillon's not going anywhere when it comes to, his love and his roots here in Wisconsin. So I'm with you, Clay. As long as we're not playing the Eagles, I wish A.J. all the best out there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, speaking of having his legs under him, the Aaron Timothy, is that too old for this? Did you change your name? He says the Eagles wanted an all quad backfield. I tell you what, that is probably going to be the biggest quads of any duo back in the history of the NFL. I think that's probably true.
I'll say this too. Makes me feel pretty damn good that the guy that was going to be a potential running back on our roster we didn't see that he was even worthy to be the 4th back, but the defending Super Bowl champions thought he was. That says a lot about our running back room. I mean, think about that. Like the Packers wanted him back, and they thought that they would see him. Look at that pterodactyl, got it. More valuable than like Marshawn Lloyd, right? Then they would have kept him. They would have tried to make an offer. It sounds like they didn't even make an offer to him. So the fact that they didn't make an offer and the Eagles go out and swoop him up tells me a lot about this backfield, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes me feel really damn good that the best running back in the league, the team he's on, said, we want Green Bay's 4th best running back. Pretty cool. So just want
I agree
out there. All right.
Look at that, too. I didn't realize Prince is saying that Patrick Taylor got re-signed by the 49ers, too. LOL.
Here's the guy.
Tell you what.
So I thought this was really cool. I'm going to try to read it to you guys without stuttering too much. You guys know I am horrible at reading. Hate public reading, but when you do a podcast, get over it, right?
This is great. I saw this earlier. This is awesome.
I said, we're building a team, not collecting talent. Big B actually tweeted this out. And it said new Packers cornerback Nate Hobb. Thinking about Hobbs, right? Is it Hobb or Hobbs?
It's Hobbs.
Hobbs.
Okay, yeah, just a little typo there. Posted this right after Rich Bisaccia left the Raiders back in 2022. Now Rich and Hobbs will be reunited in Green Bay. So here is what it said here. This was a post that he put up kind of honoring, I guess you could say, Rich Bisaccia. I know it's going to be hard for y'all to read, so I'll read it for you. Everybody's going, hold on tight. The redneck's reading. Dear Coach, honestly, I don't know where to begin. So I'll just start by saying I love you. Since I was 12, I didn't really have a father figure in my life till later. After a while, he passed away too. In 2021, Coach Gruden stepped down and you became head coach. That year, I met another man in my life that believed in me and loved me like a brother. A feeling I hadn't felt in so long. You were the only person I would allow to curse me out severely, then tell me that you love me 2 hours later. LOL. One thing admired about you. One thing I admired about you so much, when things got hectic, the more you appeared to remain even more poised. Two things you taught me in this lifetime, I'll carry for the rest of my lifetime. Quote, nobody gives a F. And quote, put a little love in your heart and smile on your face. Coach, you had my back and believed in me when thousands didn't. And for that, I love you. So, pretty darn cool. Now, I know there's been a lot out there when it comes to the Fire Rich Bisaccia crowd, right? But this...
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
This is that factor that we talk about, man, that, it's easy to look at the PFF grades and even watch the tape and remove the human element to it. And it's, well, I don't care. It's not, as some people like to say, it's not show business, it's not show friends, it's show business. You go in a locker room and say that, that's getting thrown out the window. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Players want to play for each other. Players want to feel like the coaches actually give a rip. They want to feel like the organization gives a rip. That's why in my opinion, that Josh Allen contract extension, when they didn't have to do it, is so vital to the culture of your organization. Rich Bisaccia is a culture guy. And I thought this was really cool, and how fitting that that Hobbs is in green and gold now and going to be playing for Rich. I think this is absolutely awesome, man.
Yeah, I think it just kind of solidifies that pipeline that seems to be pretty prevalent over the last few years, going from Vegas to the Packers. There seems to be just a massive amount of respect from both sides. I personally, I've went up and down with my thoughts on Rich, but I've also stated that certain players, certain coaches, certain parts of organizations are inquantifiable. And I think that what he brings to the team and clearly has brought to other teams, because all you hear from players that have played for him is how much they love the guy, even though he is a little bit hard-nosed, a little brash, kind of old school type coaching style, which I personally would love. But I think we need to take a step back and realize, like you said, not everything is able to be dissected by a few numbers on a chart.
Yep. Tim, you got anything to add to the Rich Bisaccia conversation here with obviously Nate Hobbs?
More of what Jacob just said, basically. We talk about you got to get their hearts and minds right if you want guys to play for you, but a lot of times you got to get the heart first. You got to get them in the heart. They got to know that you care about them and their futures, and they're willing to go to war for you. And I think it's just awesome to get to see this quote. Obviously, it's a couple years old, but it rings true now. And seeing that chemistry that we've seen before with the the Raiders pipeline, like Jacob talked about. Whether that's Keyshawn or Josh Jacobs, we tried it with a kicker that didn't work so well, so I'll leave that alone. But other than that, we got a pretty good track record. And I know, look, Coach B gets a lot of BS from the fan base sometimes, and I really don't think it's warranted. I was super excited when he got here, and I'm glad he's still here. And, especially the way that there's, coaching turnover and staff turnover in this league, it seems like it's year to year. It's nice to see that Rich has got some roots here in Green Bay these past few seasons. And, I hope he sticks around for the long haul. And, I'd love to hoist a Lombardi with a guy like this. We have to remember he's more than just the special teams coordinator. He's our assistant head coach, and he brings a lot of, tangible and intangibles to the table here in Green Bay. So I'm glad he's our coach, and I'm really glad we got Nate Hobbs. I think this is going to prove to be one of the steals of free agency. Really do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do as well, man. It's funny you mentioned hoisting the Lombardi, the old Lombardi quote, and I'm sure I'll butcher it. It's something along the lines of, what is it? The battles are won in the hearts of men, and once you've won their heart, they'll follow you anywhere.
Yep.
You can sum it up by saying the old saying as well. You know, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. That stuff matters, man. And I'm telling you, you see the people that roll their eyes and they think it doesn't matter. They're miserable human beings. Look at the fruit on their tree. Look at them. Look at their Twitter following, right? They'll have 38 followers, and you go through and look at their last 10 tweets, and it's negative, 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 negative. And they're the ones going, this doesn't matter. Well, you better be able to play football good. All right. I'm just telling you.
Yep.
Talent on every team is great in the NFL, right? It's how you utilize that talent, how you create that perfect environment, how you cultivate, right? How you take care of that culture is absolutely huge. It helps when you're winning. Don't get me wrong. Culture is easy to build when you're at the top of the mountain. But I think you want somebody like Rich Bisaccia when crap hits the fan to kind of pick these boys up and show them that he believes in them while also putting a boot in their ass. You know, both are vitally important there. So, all right. So the next thing, we got the Aaron Banks contract information here. And I'll throw the tweet up here, and then we'll actually dive into the entire contract. The gist of it, $27 million guaranteed, carrying a $9 million cap hit in 2025. Essentially, it's a 4-year deal. That's really a 3 with plenty of flexibility for restructuring years 2 and 3. As Spot Track had tweeted out, Banks, 4 years, $77 million, $27 million guaranteed, $63 million 3-year cash, 1 year, 29.4 practical. Okay, what that means is essentially 1 year, $29 million is what you're on the hook for. After that, you can get a little bit of freedom from it. So what I'm going to do now is put up the contract and explain what all that means in a nutshell. We're not going to go too in detail here, but hopefully we can give you guys and gals an idea of what we're talking about. So when we pop the contract up on the screen, this is from Spot Track. Make sure you go check out the site. It's absolutely awesome. It's my go-to for this type of stuff. Here's what we got. You'll notice in 2025, this upcoming year, okay, the cap hit is $9.1 million. Okay, the dead cap attached is $27 million. So that's along with that 29 that we talked about, right? So base salary is only 1.5. Signing bonus proration is 6.7. You'll see that 6.7 spread out evenly over the life of the contract. Your roster / GM bonus. First of all, your roster bonus, just your normal roster bonus in 2026, he's got one of 9.5 million, and another one in 2027. What that means is if he makes the roster, and typically that's at the breaking of camp. Some of them are actually set for March. We won't go into all the details of when that is. The point is, it's more or less a club option is what it is, right? If he's on the roster, he's due that money. If he's not, they can get out of it. It's not actual guarantee. That's why we talk about practical guarantee, and that comes in the form of the $27 to $29 million, which you'll see is spread out 675, 675, 675, 675. So this is what it means. In year 1, his cap hit's only 9.1. In year 2, his cap hit jumps to $24.8 million. You go, whoa, that's big money. It is. Don't expect that cap hit to hold true in year 2. And what's cool is the dead cap attached in year 2 is $20.2 million. Meaning, if for some reason he falls flat on his face and he is not the guy we thought he was, you could cut bait after 1 year and still free up, $4 million, $4.6 million roughly off that contract. Now, let's say he makes it through year 2. Now you're at the age of 30, right? His the way the contract will break down in 2027 is 5.1 in base salary, the 6.7 in signing bonus, 9.5 million in roster bonus. So if you don't make the roster, you can get out of that money. Roster GM bonus of $500K and then a workout bonus of $400K. So essentially the cap hit in 2027 drops down from 24.8 to 22.2. You see this commonly with Gutekunst's and Russ Ball's way of doing contracts. Remember the Kenny Clark contract last year in year 2 of the deal or what have you, the number was inflated. And then this year it dropped down. When you get to year 3, typically the cap number will come back down, right? The dead cap attached off of the 22.2 is actually 13.5 million. So you can free up roughly 9 million if you cut him after the 2026 year, his second year on the team. Now, let's say you really like the way he's playing and you want to keep him throughout the duration of this contract. That's where you're going to look at the base salary and the roster bonus. So in year 2 next year, let's say he balls out and he goes all pro. Obviously, you're not looking to cut him. You're not going to ask him to take a pay cut. He's worth the money spent. what they'll probably end up doing is convert some of that $7.7 million in base salary and that $9.5 million in roster bonus. They'll convert it to signing bonus, write him a check, and then they can kick those cap hits on down the road, unless they just want to pay the bill right now if they're in good cap shape. Does that make sense, guys? How we always say a 4-year deal is really a 3 with Goody, and a 3-year deal is really a 2. This is one of those rare ones, and it's why we were like, that's why they're not releasing the guaranteed money. You could actually get out of it and free up a little cap after year 1. Now, you're still going to hold a $20.2 million cap penalty, and I don't think that's a part of the plan to get out of the contract. But if you do, that's the way it's structured. So essentially, it's a 4-year deal, or it's a 3-year deal in the shape of a 4-year deal. That makes sense.
Yeesh. And they're not going to try and get out of the contract because we're going to hoist Lombardi, and they're going to definitely want to bring that piece back. I don't think they brought him in thinking they were going to cut and run, but it's nice to have that kind of built into the structure. That you never know how this league can turn out, right? You're always in for surprises, especially in that first quarter of the season. There's really no telling. So hopefully he comes out strong and has a great year for us, and we continue to move forward. But it's nice to know that we've got a kind of a contingency plan there.
Yeah, essentially, after 1 year, you can get out. But when you get to the age of 30, you can really get out. And that's what we always talk about, Jacob, right? You get to age 30, it's like, okay, is that guy going to continue to play at a high level, or is he going to drop off? Is he going to hit the wall? And we know Goody likes them under 30. There's no doubt about that. But what do you think, Jacob? Do you like the contract? You still think it's high? How do you feel about it, man?
It's still a little higher than I would have desired, but I'm willing to give it a year, give it 2 years, and really see how it comes to fruition. I think that I don't know necessarily exactly how PFF does their grading systems and all that, but again, all I know is that San Francisco consistently had one of the best offensive lines, best offenses, best running games, best pass protection in the league. So if he was a cog in that machine, and I don't know, I just find it hard to believe that he did grade so quote unquote poorly. I think that hopefully we're going to see him have a little step in his game. And like I said, PFF is, you take that with a big grain of salt. I think all of us will know by the end of the year whether or not we find him good, whether we find the money worth it. And like you said, Goody, again, throwing down a contract where if we got to pull the ripcord and say, I want to get out of this, we can do that after year 1 if we have to. Probably more like a year 2 thing, but yeah. I'm warm on the deal. I'm not blazing hot. I'm not cold. I'm warm on it.
Yeah, I feel good about it in the sense of, if we're really going to move Elton from left guard to center, this seems like a really, really good plan to plug and play somebody in that left guard.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that the offensive line got stronger. Now, here's the thing. Like, we can look at PFF and go, yeah, it graded out bad, right? Like Jacob said, though, look at how effective the 49ers offense has been the last few years, not specifically last year with all the stuff they dealt with, but, the 2 years prior, they were running the ball down people's throats, right? Brock Purdy was sitting in the pocket and picking people apart. Like, you guys know how I feel about Brock Purdy. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's a legit top 10 quarterback. When you look at that, right, and the fact that what this tells me, and I kind of said this last night and we'll move on, it tells me Goody had an extremely high draft grade on Aaron Banks when he was coming out in the draft, and it tells me he likes what he's seen on tape from the last 4 years. Period, case closed. I could give a rat's ass what PFF thinks if the general manager, who continues to put out playoff team after playoff team with the youngest roster in the league, is saying, oh, this is the guy worth the money. And I want to say this too. He's also the guy, I think I had a tweet here ready. I may not have shared it. I did not share it. It talked about I think it went through the top 25 most valuable contracts, basically meaning these players are worth the money the most, right? Rasheed Walker, I think, was 10th, and Zach Tom was 20th. So if Goody is so good at finding these gems at offensive line in the draft, why are we not trusting him to make a signing like this in free agency? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't go, man, he knocked Rasheed Walker out of the park. Man, he knocked Zach Tom out of the park. You can't say those things and then in the very next breath go, boy, he screwed up this signing. Like, what are we, you know what I mean? That's where I try to take a step back, remove the ego, and go, okay, I don't know everything. I can watch the tape and give my opinion, but when a team shells out that kind of money with a contract, now on the surface, it looks like what it basically is saying, if you perform well, you're going to be here and make damn good money. If not, we're going to get rid of you after 1 or 2 years. It just seems like a win-win for me. And you really raised that floor tremendously with that interior offensive line. And like Tim said, being able to kick Elton over to center, that's exciting to me. Guys, Elton at center, if he plays the way he has at guard at his best football, and to the best of my knowledge, it's easier to play center than it is guard. That's the way I've always understood it. It's easier to play guard than it is tackle. It's easier to play center than it is guard, but you do got to be able to snap the ball and handle those things, which Elton did in college. Who was the last great center we had in Green Bay? Think. Who was it?
Frank Winters.
Lindsley?
Tim went all the way back. Lindsley's probably the one that I really go, yeah, that dude, So how long ago was that? Over a decade?
Yeah. And he was another converted guard, correct?
I think he might have been. I'm not 100% sure.
I thought Lindsley started as a guard.
All I'm saying is this might be the best center we've had in Green Bay in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. If that's the case, who knows what's going to happen with this interior? Maybe we finally got the true mix you need to compete with people like Philly, and hold up on the interior for sure. Let's see here. H.E. Solder with a super chat. Thank you so much, sir. He says, missed out on the free agent vertical threats. Are they now locked into Dante Thornton? Ooh, top size and speed for the draft because the offense kind of sucks without a vertical threat that lacks size. That's a great question. I'm going to propose something here real quick, and this is the perfect segue there. So I appreciate you for the super chat there, man. Let me get your all's take on what he asked here, and I'm going to kind of tee up the next segment as you guys wrap up.
I think that we're definitely going to have to. I know Tim is absolutely on board with a certain player that fits that prototype. I did bring up Dante Thornton from Tennessee. There's a couple others. I mean, even Isaac Tesla, 6'4", good speed. Pat Bryant, a few others that kind of fit that mold. Jack Besh, so there's guys in this draft. I don't think we have to freak out yet and say that we have to draft this or have to do that. I would like to see somebody with a little more size to obviously replace the Christian Watson hole that is in that room. But I'm not super worried about it just because there are a lot of deep receivers that fit that bill. So I'll let Tim go ahead and talk about Jaden Higgins.
No, you're right. I love Jaden Higgins for sure. But Dante Thornton Jr. is definitely on the radar. So is Trey Harris. That's another guy we talked about, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
You and I both like Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Yeah. So, there's a lot of receiver talent here, but I do agree with Mr. Soder here in the super chat. I don't know if I'd say we're locked into a Dante Thornton type size and speed type of guy because we've talked about Jalen Noel and, a couple other guys that are a little bit smaller stature that also might be available. But I do have the feeling that given the lack of pursuit of these receivers in free agency, that we're definitely grabbing us one, possibly two in this draft, depending on how well Goody cooks.
Right. Yeah. Savion Williams was another one too from TCU. That guy's 6'5", 215, beast.
Yeesh.
Yeah, and when we look at our draft board, here's what we've got in terms of wide receiver. Top wide receiver in the number 7 spot is Ted McMillan out of Arizona. He would fit that mold perfectly, but as we talked about, there's about 6 different teams that'll probably take him before the Packers can get to him, right? Then we drop down to Emeka Egbuka. When you mention somebody like Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden, people immediately say they're slot receivers, Clayton. I've said this for a long time now, and I don't know of anyone else who's talking about it. We just assume that Jaden Reed can only play slot. That's what everybody just thought. Well, he's a slot. We don't need another slot. We don't need another slot. Jaden Reed in college, as I show here, and we've talked about this multiple times, and I'm going to drop this down again. Solder, thank you so much for the super chat, bro. We appreciate you. If you guys can see this, I don't know if you can or not, I'll try to zoom in a little bit. So in college, and this is what I said in the tweet here. I said, when speaking about finding the next, I think I said wide receiver. I don't know why that's popping up there. I don't want to promote that, bub. Don't need to. All right. Okay. Anyway, whether it be in the draft or free agency, I said, you always hear, quote, we already have a slot receiver. Jaden Reed played a ton of Z in college and actually more snaps out wide than he did in the slot. He can do both well. So you look at his snaps from college, guys. His final year in college, 291 snaps out wide and 84 in the slot. Tim, you remember we broke down the tape when we drafted him. I'm like, oh, this dude ain't just a slot. He can play Z. He can stretch the field vertically. And he's got he can track the ball as well as anyone on deep balls. There's no doubt about it. Now, you go to his best year in college, 82.2. That's 345 snaps out wide. Okay? They ran dagger a lot. And that was the route I seen the most, was him just getting vertical, and then he'd run that deep dig. He can run those routes that it takes to play on the outside. Now, does he have the size? Jordy Nelson was over 6'2", right? Romeo Dobbs is over 6'2". I'm trying to think who else. There was somebody else that I had looked up as well. A good kind of deep receiver was over 6'2". Anyway,
James Jones.
He may have been. Yeah, I'm not sure his exact measurements. But the point is, yeah, it's ideal to have a 6'2" or up wide receiver, right? Going deep and running those deep routes. But man, I put a highlight reel together because somebody said that's college, but I can't remember. They were smart. There was a smart ass comment. It was like, that's in college. That's different. I took 3.5 minutes and found about 12 clips of him running deep routes and making contested catches. He can do it. So my point is, if the board falls just right, whether it's the first round, second round, third round, seventh round, and the best player on the board is a slot, I don't think they're looking at going, nope, we can't use him. Jaden's our slot. When we were leading last year and we pulled our starters out, guess who went to the F, essentially our motion slot guy? We seen Bo Melton do it, right? Christian Watson did it his rookie year, and I know Christian's hurt him. Just the point is, he wants more people, he being Matt LaFleur, he wants more people to be able to play F and play that position, but you've got to learn the choice routes. You've got to know that. If they land someone, and that's why when Cooper Kupp was mentioned, everybody's like, well, we don't need a slot. He is a slot receiver, absolutely. Imagine Cooper Kupp in the slot for a year or two, and he's, as you're hearing my voice, he's probably already been signed, to be honest with you. I don't know. It sounds like his market was heating up earlier. If you throw him in the slot and put Jaden at Z, and now you got Romeo Dobbs playing X along with Malik Heath and Dontavion Wicks, is it DK Metcalf? Absolutely not. Is it, another name, whoever? He's no Jamar Chase. There's not many of those out there, AJ Browns, right? But the point is, we've got options, and you can stretch the field vertically with Jaden Reed. You can do it. Go back and watch that catch in triple coverage against the Rams. Yeah. I mean, go to his rookie year, game on the line, think play or not play, and what did he do? Made a diving catch against the Saints his rookie year to keep that drive alive, and they go right down and win the damn ball game.
Yep.
Like, I'm just saying, we got to get out of this mode of, nope, he's just a slot. He's just a slot. He's just a slot. I promise you the coaches aren't looking at it like that. They're not going into every game going, well, nope, that's all he can do. Like Coach Lynn says, Cooper can play F. Yes, he can, man. And I'm not saying
if Reed was just a slot, I don't think they ever would have drafted him.
Right, exactly. Right. I believe that too. Jake Shavink said Garrett Wilson and Ladd McConkey are 5'11", and I think you can argue they can play X. We're in a new era. No reason that Reed can't play Z. I'll tell you another one too, Jake. When I was looking at the heights of pass receivers, another one, Greg Jennings, 5'11", right? It's possible. Not ideal. It's possible. If Jaden Higgins is there, take him. I'll be okay with that too. But I'm simply saying if the board lines up and there's a slot receiver there, or if free agency falls just right here in the latter stages and you go, man, that's a solid slot receiver. Well, we can't take him because we don't need a slot. That's just silly thinking. It really is, man.
Quick update. We have now surpassed our goal. We are at, I believe, 11 super chats. 2-0 for this says draft a long snapper.
That's all.
And follows it up with boy. Follows that up with grilling on the roof.
Big boy grilling on the roof.
Let's go.
Go ahead, Bates.
Brambo just threw it in there just to round her out here. So
all right, so we hit our goal. We're definitely doing a mock draft, and thank you all for the super chats for sure. We appreciate y'all more than you know. So let me just ask you guys, what do you think about Cooper Kupp? How would you feel about Cooper Kupp? Because now Ian Rappaport said on the Insiders right before we went live, he said, man, Cooper Kupp's market's really heating up. Where do you think that information came from?
Cooper Kupp's agent.
Exactly. Y'all said it perfect. Now, I'm not saying it won't surpass, $10 million or $15 million. But if you can get him for, somewhere around 10 milli for a couple of years and get out of it after 1 year, throw him in the slot, flex Jaden out to Z, draft you a receiver, right? Who knows? Jake will like this. Maybe Colston Loveland falls in your lap and you draft him at tight end and you do a little flexing and moving around and,
How are we going to keep my boy Malik Heath on the roster then, man?
He's the goon, isn't he? We got to keep the goon.
That's my dude.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about it, man? What would be let me ask you this. What would be the price? Jacobs is going to be $3.2 million. What is going to be the price, Jacob, for you that you go, hey, I'll take Cooper Kupp on for that?
12 or below.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. I think 10's the number for me.
Yeah.
If the market is hot, if it is hot, probably going to get outbid pretty quick. But if you look up and go and get Cooper Kupp for $8 million per, shoot, yeah, sign me up, man. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I'm a little lower. I'm somewhere in that 10 million range.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we know he's not going to go below that, right? I don't see him signing somewhere for less than 10 million. But then again, I'm not an expert. We've seen crazier things, right? We didn't think Khalil Mack was going to sign for 18 million, right? And that's exactly what happened. So, but I'm with you, Clay. I'm somewhere around 10.
Got it. Jake Cervink said Evan Ingram's signing with Denver helps the Loveland to 23 agenda. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was some kind of crazy stat. Jake probably knows it. The number of snaps that Evan Ingram took in the slot was like crazy. So,
yeah.
There are teams that are still doing that in the NFL. I know we got away from that slot bully a little bit when the league went away from the West Coast spread and pressed into the Shanahan tree of the wide zone boot. But it's still there. It's still alive and well, I think, in certain places. So, again, Cooper Kupp, we'll keep an eye on that. All right, a little Jaire update here as Rob Demoski tweeted this out earlier today. I just said, confirm the Packers have not asked Jaire Alexander to restructure his contract. To me, I said that's very interesting, as Rob Demoski had reported. As the start of the new year, as of the start of the league year moments ago, there's been no movement with Jaire Alexander. They have not asked him to restructure his deal, not that he would anyway, so the wait continues. So what does it mean that the Packers have not even asked him, hey, would you like to stay for a restructure? That can mean a multitude of things. It could be that Goody's okay with keeping him on the roster at what we got, right? It could be that he's not even going to bother doing it because he's gotten enough offers, whether it's between the combine and to now, that, hey, I'm definitely going to pull the trigger on one of these, but let's just wait it out and see if someone's not happy with the way free agency went and they'll pay a little bit more. Could be one of those things. I want to get your all's take on it. What do y'all think this means here? The fact that a restructure, he's not been asked to restructure that deal.
I think it means get ready for some more.
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
It's been a roller coaster watching Tim this offseason because it's like he ain't going nowhere, and then it got really loud.
Then it's 50-50.
Like,
now it's kind of –
you can see you just kind of accept it like, damn, Josh gone. Kind of sucks, And now
I'm
it's back to
that as a possibility, but now my hopes are back up again.
Right.
And if he's healthy, man, hey, let's go, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Hey, the thought of him being healthy and Nate Hobbs on the other side, and now we got extra depth with the slot. If Nate Hobbs beats Keyshawn out for that other outside spot or vice versa, and Nate Hobbs kicks to the slot, you're a better football team with Jaire on the field. There's no doubt. But Jacob, like we talked about, he's just not been on the field,
Yeah. And, I'm going back and forth too. Sutter said get Michael. I kind of like that, but just real quick on Jaw. Like Go Pack Go says real quick. He says just keep Alexander. It only saves $7 million letting him go. If that's the case, and if he's willing to play, I need to get an idea of where his head's at, because going into this year, like if he's not on board, if he's not bought in, if he's not ready to go back to the jaw of old and really be a contributor and not somebody that's going to be a weight or a cancer or any sort of distraction from what the goal is of this team, then I want him gone. If he's ready to be all in again and revamp that career, I want him here real bad. But I got to know. I have no idea which way the wind's blowing right now, and that to me is frustrating, and it's cause for concern.
No, I completely understand that. Solder with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, to hell with the wide receiver market, Tim. Get Michael Mayer in here. Hey, Michael Mayer is your tight end number 2. Sign me up. You guys know I'm a Notre Dame guy. The fact that they drafted Brock Bowers and Brock Bowers just, he snatched that job away from him. I don't see that as a negative for Michael Mayer. I don't. The question is, what would it take to get him, But that's one way we can combat this whole thing, too, is press into 12 a little bit more as opposed to going out there in 11 personnel,
Absolutely. Or we can just draft Harold Fannin Jr. We'll be good, right?
There you go. Again, thank you for the super chat, Solder. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.